The Great Khan, a mid-game crisis that causes chaos within your galaxy. The Khan got changed in the past year and has become much harder. Hence this video. In this video, we will cover what the Khan is, how it spawns, how to defeat, and what happens once you defeat them, their fleets and starbases, counters to these, and any extra tips and advice I have for you. So firstly, what is the Great Khan? They're a mid-game crisis that can spawn after your mid-game year, and is added via the Apocalypse DLC. They'll spawn from a Marauder Empire, and they are expansionist, invading any empire that does not submit, including other Marauders, but excluding fallen empires. You can become their satrapy, defeat them in war, or wait it out. We'll go into those options in more detail later. They also now get a buff based on the crisis multiplier at the square root of it. So if you're playing on 25 times, they will get a 5 times multiplier from their base values. So how does it spawn? Well, after the mid-game, one of the Marauder Empires can unify under a Great Khan. However, if the game reaches the end game without the event triggering, it can no longer occur. There is also a 2% chance of the event firing each time a void dwelling is destroyed, so be careful if you're destroying any Marauders. Now, how do we defeat them? We have 3 options. We'll start with the first one, which is wait it out. If the Great Khan is not killed in battle, then 20 years after the rise of the Horde, the Khan may just die of disease or assassination. If neither of these happen, the Khan will die a natural death between 15 and 45 years after the Horde was created. Also, other empires can kill them, but they probably won't. The second option, which isn't really defeating them, but you'll survive, is becoming their satrapy. At any time, it is possible for you to submit to the Khan and become a satrapy. If you do so, you will lose 30% in your energy, minerals, food, and naval capacity. So you will be losing a lot of your economy, but at least you're not dead. AI empires that lose more than 2 planets to the Horde have a yearly chance to submit, with the chance increasing for every planet they lose. This is a good option if you're about to be destroyed, but I would advise avoiding this at all costs, as you later will become a vassal and therefore could be integrated. But we'll also get onto that later. The third, and one of the best options, is just to kill the Khan's fleet twice. That's right, not eliminate the Empire, but just find the Great Khan's fleet and kill them, as they will be roaming around in their big, strongest fleet. The first elimination, they will always escape. Run away! Don't worry, you've not done anything wrong. Then they will return within a year with a second fleet inside of a system they own. I believe if they have no systems left, they are presumed dead, but I'm not entirely sure. I've had it where they've come back, so I don't know what the wiki is talking about. Once you destroy them for the second time, they will die. Now, what happens when they die?
I spit my last breath.
Well, whoever earned the killing blow will earn the Khan's Throne Relic. This relic is insane. Passively, you'll get 20% less claim influence cost, which is pretty decent, but more importantly, you gain access to the satrapy subject type, where you can sap naval cap from your subjects. This is insane. You can get to max naval cap quite easily from it, and is almost crucial for 25x all runs because you just need as many ships as possible. When you activate it, you get 20% ship weapon damage for 10 years, which is also very good, and then 25% militarist ethic attraction for 10 years. That doesn't really matter. If they spawn, this is worth going for 100%. So I'm going to stop glazing over the relic. What else happens when they die? Well, the Horde will now be unreachable diplomatically. All fleets will retreat back to their borders and stay there. Within a year, if the Horde isn't totally annihilated, it will change into the following things. So if it had no planets taken, it will be a Marauder Empire. If it had 1 to 5, it will become an empire that has a civic that gives 10% fire rate. 6 to 9, there'll be 2 regular empires with claims on each other and 15% naval cap civic. If there's more than 10, 4 regular empires will claim on each other with 15% naval cap civic. Regular empires created from the Horde are fanatic militarist and xenophobe, with orbital habitat techs. If at least 1 planet and 2 satrapies, there's a 10% chance it will turn into a fanatic egalitarian and xenophile Federation Builders regular empire, which will form a federation with its satrapies. I found that quite interesting, did not know it could happen. So, more importantly, the fleets. Well, the number of ships will initially depend on the game's settings, i.e. the crisis strength, and any difficulty buffs. There'll be new fleets every few years, depending on naval capacity provided by satrapies. So the more satrapies there are, the stronger the Horde gets. Every 2 years, the Horde will rent all available fleets offered by mercenary enclaves. Each patron of a mercenary enclave will be warned about this and will be given 60 days to rent its fleet, so the Horde cannot rent them. So be very, very careful if you're playing with lots of mercenary enclaves. If the Khan does die, all mercenary fleets will end their contract. please subscribe. Now we're going to actually look at the fleets and the specifics of them. So I have full intel on them. We can see everything. So this save is on 5 times crisis with Grand Admiral, so it is going to be a bit stronger than default settings. The fleets will vary in size from their small ones with a few ships and no galleons, with then a bigger no galleon fleet, very strong with a galleon, and then of course the Chosen of the Great Khan. They will have a level 3 Admiral with Mercenary Warrior on, which gives them evasion and ship fire rate, Engineer with daily hull, and then unyielding for more ship hull points. It does seem actually these traits are random, which I've just figured out, but they all will have the Mercenary Warrior trait. The Chosen of the Great Khan, I believe, is always the same. They are level 10, so they are getting 3% ship fire rate per level, so 30%, and 2 disengagement opportunity. I don't think that matters. They will always start with Master Gunner, giving them ship weapon range, tracking, and evasion, 30%. The Great Khan, 20% ship fire rate, sublight speed, and ship weapon damage, 30% evasion, 10% ship hull, 10% daily hull and armor regen, and 20% ship weapon range. Wrecker free, 25% more damage. Artillerists free, 15% damage and tracking and accuracy at 10 and 7%. Demolisher, so they do more against star bases. Gunner focus, small and medium slots do a lot more, which is actually going to hurt when we come on to the smaller ships. And then reckless, combat disengagement chance 60%. This is just one of the best admirals that you could probably have. So they won't take any messing. Now let's actually go through the ship designs. Firstly, we have these raiders, basically corvette classes, that are just full of autocannons. And the techs aren't maxed, but these corvettes do have 90% evasion, especially in this fleet, so they probably have less in a smaller one. Yeah, they have 85. Still quite high evasion, armor, afterburners, and shields. Next, we do have frigates or destroyers. They're not actually frigates. These have a large autocannon and then small UV lasers that do less to shields than tier 3 armor and shields, afterburners, and hull. Then the cruisers, more autocannons with a large autocannon, medium, and small. Tier 3 again, afterburner, shields. Now you might be noticing a trend with these. They're all autocannons, which suck. They just suck as a weapon. They inflate fleet power a lot, and that's all they really do. So these small fleets are actually not as scary as you might think. Just make sure you stay away from them and don't just only have shields. We'll get onto the ship designs soon though. Now the galleon is actually quite strong. Tier 3 armor and hull again, but they do have real weapons like devastator torpedoes, large railguns, and large UVs. These are going to wreck any ship design pretty much because they do more shield and more armor damage. Then they have some flak to counter any carriers. So before we actually look at counters, the asteroid outposts, which you will be fighting, maybe you don't actually need to destroy the Khan, have small railguns, so they're better at shields. Then they have large shields and large armor. These aren't going to be a problem. The void dwellings are a bigger starbase, and they actually do pack a bit of a punch with kinetic batteries, plasma accelerators, autocannons, missiles, point defense. The only issue is it's a starbase, it has no evasion, it has no speed. And the counters we're going to look at will counter these fine. The main starbase in the middle is a bit stronger and has proton launchers and devastator torpedoes, and then medium plasma accelerators, flak cannons, and small UV lasers. Again, no speed, no evasion, no components that will help its range, so we will be countering that. How, you might ask? Well, since they have low speed, they want to get in close to those autocannons. My first thought went to artillery cruisers, of course, my favorite design. I played them in almost every game. They're just good, they're all round, they counter a lot of things. Now, I want to caveat with these counters, I am trying to use what you would have commonly mid-game. A lot of the times with endgame builds, we would have the max whirlwind missiles on, the max anti-missiles. This is where one counter might actually be better than the other depending on what techs you've rolled, because it's going to be mid-game. You're not going to have every single tech. So I've tried to keep the techs low, but still quite good. I would absolutely recommend cruisers no matter what. Destroyers and frigates and corvettes will probably get absolutely destroyed by the autocannons. There might be a small caveat with frigates destroying the galleons, as these cruisers are going to struggle against them a little bit. But in my testing, 6 of these cruisers with admirals and edicts all on can take out the Khan's fleet. They will take a few losses, but as you can see, they are doing really well against them, and they can just slowly wipe out the galleon. Frigates might be good to come in here and destroy that, but I don't think it's worth it entirely. We did lose a fair few fleets. However, I thought, what else is long range? What else don't they really have counters to? And that's hangars. I was pleasantly pleasantly surprised. These hangars have no edicts. There are 6 of them, but they have no edicts and no admirals. Just watch what happens here when we try and take on the Khan. They just completely run away. The hangars can take out this small thing, the small fleets, and then they all just kind of merge onto the galleon. That time we did take quite a few losses, but with leaders and edicts, we'd probably take the same or less losses. Both of these fleets will be very good against the star bases because you're just going at maximum range and they cannot do anything to you. They will also counter all the other fleets as they're the same. The Khan is just way stronger, so if you can take out the Khan, you can take out the other fleets. And here is the hangar design. What I would say is use either the hangar design or the swarmers, depending on what techs you have. Higher. Speed is going to be key. You want the highest afterburners and plasma thrusters you can get. You could probably load up more armor, as I believe they deal slightly more damage to shields, but these should do you really well. We are kind of matching their strength. We're at 180k with the swarmers, but you don't need too much more, and this is minimal losses. Now, some random advice, some extra tips to fight the Khan is that the Khan can actually be good to shrink down your enemies down to size without you actually doing anything. And if you then take back a colonized system that belonged to another empire, you will get the option to return it for plus 40 opinion, or you can keep control for minus 20 opinion. Another big tip is they can use wormholes, so be very careful. They might be on the other side of the galaxy, but if they have a wormhole to you, they will be there in no time. Next, they do have to invade your planets, unlike the Crisis, so building up a defensive army could be decent to slowing them down if they're in your territory and you're waiting for your fleets to get to them. Now, as I've alluded to earlier, AI will be pretty bad against them, so they will barely help or try and kill the Khan, so don't rely on them at all. Now, if you're not strong enough and you thought the AIs might help you, you could always just fortify your choke points and let the Khan do what they're doing. You could build up a few star bases, get your fleets there, and wait it out until you're strong enough to go kill them for the relic. Also, the Oppose the Fallen cancel agenda will do more damage against Awakened Marauders, 5% when you initially put it on, and then 25% when you launch it. This could be really, really good at getting even more out of your ships. Unfortunately, there are no Ascension perks that help, as this is just an endgame crisis. They're not an endgame crisis, at least I don't think. Let me know in the comments if that does counter or not. And then Galactic Contender is only against Fallen Empires, Awakened Empires, Gate Builders, and Void Worms. Now, if you're new to Stellaris and you're also like me and try and get all the achievements, I've been running a series for like over a year now, trying to get them all, documenting every single one, and trying to get them as easily and quickly as possible. And it's all in a playlist right here. So go watch it, binge it to your heart's content, and I'll see you in the next one.